Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Donovan with MKD58 Media, and I got another brief movie review for you guys. And this movie review is going to be for the 1997 drama suspense thriller Breakdown. All right, now Breakdown came out in '97, directed by Jonathan Mostow, and it's starring Kurt Russell. And we all know Kurt Russell, Big Trouble in Little China, Escape from New York, Escape from LA. He was in a movie called Soldier. I believe he was in Tombstone. I might be mistaken on that, but I'm fairly sure Kurt Russell was in Tombstone. He's also in Unlawful Entry. He's been in some of the more recent Fast and the Furious movies. He's been in a lot of films. He's had a long career. So, starring Kurt Russell as the husband, and him and his wife are in a Jeep Grand Cherokee driving across country, going on a trip or an excursion of sorts. I can't really remember if they're moving or if they're just going on a little trip. But anyways, they're in a Jeep Grand Cherokee. They're driving across what almost looks like Sedona, but it's some kind of area. It looks like Arizona. I never did quite clarify where they were, but they're going on a long drive, and their Jeep breaks down on the side of the road, and semi comes along with the truck driver, and they have a little conversation, and Kurt Russell and his wife decide that Kurt Russell will stay with the Jeep to try to get it back up and running, and his wife will go along with the truck driver, who will give her a ride into the next town over, which is like 20 miles away, so she can use a phone to call a tow service. And in the meantime, Kurt Russell will try to get the truck up and running, and if he does, or get the Jeep up and running, and if he does, he'll just, drive the 20 miles into town to meet his wife, okay? So, she rides off with the truck driver. After a little bit, Kurt Russell figures something out. I won't tell you what that is, but he figures something out, and he actually gets the Jeep started, and drives into town to meet his wife and everything, but she's nowhere to be found, and the truck driver's nowhere to be found as well. None of the business owners, none of the townsfolk have seen her or the truck driver. Nobody can help him out with any type of information. So right now, his wife is missing, and what he does is he goes, another 20 or 30 miles over into the next town to try to talk to some police about it. They can't really do too much about it because the person isn't officially missing till I think it's like 24 hours or something like that. And his wife basically hasn't been missing long enough, and just in general, the cops can't really help him out too much. So it turns into a one-man search with Kurt Russell trying to find his abducted wife. And I'm going to leave it there in terms of talking about the plot, so I don't want to give anything away. This is an old film, but it's still one of those films that if you haven't seen it, there's going to be things you don't want to know about it going in. So I'm not going to do any spoiler type stuff. What I generally thought about this movie, I enjoyed it. I liked this movie. It was entertaining. It was an engaging film. It was only about a 95-minute runtime, which, you know how I feel about those type of runtimes. I like that because when the movie is good and it's in that 95-minute range of a runtime, it means the movie's very efficient and doesn't have any filler, doesn't have any, dragging parts, doesn't have any parts that lag, doesn't have anything in it that doesn't really need to be there. And that's what happens with this film. To me, this film is very efficient. It's a very easy watch, but it's an interesting story, kind of a simple story. It's not just some crazy intricate thing, but it's just engaging because it's one of those things. Somebody gets abducted. There's that natural kind of human feeling where you want them to get, you want the person to get their loved one back. There's just that kind of, there's something almost instinctual about that, you know what I mean? So automatically you want this guy to resolve this problem that he has. Kurt Russell gives a good performance. Everybody in this film gives a good performance. Negatives about this movie, I don't think there really are any negatives about this movie, at least for me. And I'm not necessarily a film snob, you know what I mean? So it's not like there's probably some things somebody else would be able to point out very quickly that they don't like about this movie. Matter of fact, there is one thing, but I can't, it's a spoiler type thing, so I can't really talk about it, but it has to do with how this movie ends. I've seen a lot of people have a moral problem with something a good character does in this movie at the end. And personally, I didn't have an issue with that. I actually felt like what this character did was probably kind of necessary to if they wanted to make sure they didn't have to deal with some of these bad guys again down the line or whatever. Now, legalities aside, I agree completely with what this particular character did. Now, when the authorities and the cops pull up and they see, they might have to ask some questions, but legalities aside, I had no issue with the choice this particular character made. Like I said, can't really get too more in depth about it than that, at the risk of spoiling how this movie ends. But if you've seen this movie, or when you see it, you'll kind of understand what I mean when you see the ending, okay? And if you check out some of the other reviews that have been written about this film, just in Google search and whatnot. My final score for this movie, I'm gonna go 7.5 out of 10. This movie's it's a really easy, interesting, entertaining watch, but it is not an exceptional movie. There's nothing just, to me, there's nothing really just special about it, exceptional, spectacular about it. It's just a really good, efficient watch. You know what I mean? Like if you're into basketball at all, if you watch the NBA, like this isn't a 45-point game. This movie is not a 45-point game. This movie is like 23 points and 6 rebounds. It's like that kind of. It's like that's how. It's kind of a weird way to put it, but if you watch basketball, I think you understand what I mean by that. Like it's not special, not spectacular, doesn't stand out, not just super memorable, but it's a good film. It's entertaining. It's a good watch, and I do recommend it to folks who are fans of movies like, say, Taken. Also, there's this movie called Ransom with Mel Gibson. Now, this is gonna be might maybe not be the most ethical thing to do this, to recommend a movie based on a movie that I actually haven't seen, but like I've never seen Ransom. I've just seen kind of clips and know the little general plot stuff about it. It seems like the type of film where if you liked Ransom, you might be able to appreciate Breakdown as well. But that aside, I'll just stick with the Taken comparison. If you like that first Taken film, I feel like you would really be able to appreciate Breakdown, because Breakdown, to me, it was Taken before Taken, with just some little differences. For instance, Liam Neeson in Taken is pretty much a badass. Like he said, he's got a special set of skills. This dude's good with his hands, good with the guns, good with the surveillance, knows how to track people, just all these special operative type skills Liam Neeson had in that movie. Whereas in Breakdown, Kurt Russell is really he's essentially a soccer dad. You know what I mean? Like there's no kids in this movie, but that's how Kurt Russell comes off. Just a soccer dad who's not built, not prepared, and not really ready to get into any type of violent conflict, but he's kind of forced to do what he has to do in this movie. But he's a little naive and just not really of the same cut from the same cloth that Liam Neeson's character in Taken is. So that's the big difference. But it's very interesting to see how the non-badass guy handles this situation. You know what I mean? So but yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. There's maybe some other things I could say about this movie, but I'll just leave it there just to cut this video short. Like I said, 7.5 out of 10 for Breakdown. I do recommend it. It's 95 minutes, just a quick, to me, interesting, entertaining watch. That's it for this review. Lots of other reviews on this channel. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out some of the older reviews and keep your eyes peeled for some of the newer reviews that are going to be coming. And I got, all types of other videos coming as well. It's not just going to be movie reviews, but we'll see, okay? So in the meantime, until the next time, I will catch you on the next go-round. Thanks for watching.